In May 2007, a family holiday in the sunny resort town of Praia da Luz, Portugal, took a turn that would capture the world's attention for years to come. A little girl with bright, curious eyes vanished from her bed, leaving behind nothing but an open window and a silence that would echo across the globe. This is the story of Madeleine McCann, a case that became a labyrinth of theories, false leads, and enduring questions. It's a story not just about a missing child, but about the relentless hope of her parents and the collective search for answers that has never truly ended. The McCann family, Kate and Gary, both doctors from Leicestershire, England, and their 3 young children, Madeleine and 2-year-old twins, were on vacation with a group of friends. They were staying at the Ocean Club Resort, enjoying the warm weather and a break from their busy lives. On the evening of May 3rd, the adults decided to have dinner at the resort's tapas restaurant. Located just a short walk from their ground floor apartment, the children were asleep in their beds. Throughout the evening, the parents took turns checking on them. It was a routine they had established, a system they believed was safe. At around 9:05 p.m., Gary McCann went to check on the children. He noticed the children's bedroom door was wider open than they had left it, but all 3 were sleeping peacefully. He quietly closed it partway and returned to the restaurant. About an hour later, at 10 p.m., it was Kate McCann's turn. As she walked toward the apartment, a sense of dread began to creep in. She entered the children's bedroom and was met with an unnerving sight. The window was open, the shutter was raised, and Madeleine's bed was empty. The twins were still asleep, oblivious to the fact that their older sister was gone. Panic erupted. A frantic search began immediately, with friends, resort staff, and fellow holidaymakers combing the complex with flashlights, calling Madeleine's name into the night. But there was no response. Portuguese police were called, and as the sun rose on May 4th, the reality of the situation began to set in. A 3-year-old girl had vanished without a trace from a secure holiday apartment. The initial hours of any missing person case are critical, but the investigation was immediately complicated. The scene was not properly secured. Dozens of people had walked through the apartment, potentially contaminating what could have been vital forensic evidence. The Portuguese police, the Polícia Judiciária, initially treated it as a case of a child who had wandered off. But as time passed, this theory seemed less and less likely. The focus soon shifted to abduction. The McCanns, thrust into an unimaginable nightmare, made desperate public appeals. Photos of Madeleine with her distinctive dark mark in her right eye were broadcast around the world. The story resonated deeply with parents everywhere, and a massive international media campaign was launched, fueled by a fund set up to support the search. High-profile figures, from celebrities to politicians, offered their support, turning the case into a global phenomenon. But the intense media spotlight was a double-edged sword. While it kept Madeleine's face in the public consciousness, it also created a storm of speculation and theories. The investigation itself was fraught with challenges. One of the earliest and most enduring leads came from Jane Tanner, one of the McCann's friends. She reported seeing a man carrying a child in pink pajamas, walking away from the direction of the McCann's apartment at around 9:15 p.m., shortly after Jerry's check. She initially dismissed it, but after Madeleine was reported missing, the sighting took on a grave new significance. This led to the creation of a famous sketch of a man with dark hair, but he was never definitively identified. As the weeks turned into months, the investigation seemed to stall. Then, in a shocking and controversial turn, the focus of the Portuguese police shifted dramatically. In September 2007, 4 months after Madeleine's disappearance, Kate and Gary McCann were named as official suspects, or arguidos. The police pursued a theory that Madeleine had died in an accident within the apartment, and that her parents had hidden her body and staged an abduction to cover it up. This theory was based heavily on the findings of 2 British sniffer dogs, one trained to detect cadaver odor and the other human blood. The dogs reportedly alerted in several locations, including the McCann's apartment and a rental car they had hired 25 days after Madeleine vanished. The McCanns vehemently denied these accusations, and the forensic evidence was ultimately deemed inconclusive and weak by experts. There was no body, no confession, and no motive that made sense. The public was deeply divided. To some, the parents' composed demeanor in press conferences seemed suspicious. To others, it was a sign of incredible strength in the face of unimaginable grief. The arguido status hung over the McCanns for nearly a year until July 2008, when the Portuguese Attorney General archived the case, citing a lack of evidence and officially cleared them of any involvement. With the Portuguese investigation at a standstill, the McCanns hired their own team of private investigators to continue the search. They followed up on thousands of alleged sightings from all over the world: Morocco, Spain, Belgium, but each lead went cold. For years, the case remained in a state of limbo, a painful open wound for the family and a source of endless public fascination. Then in 2011, the case took another unexpected turn. At the request of the McCanns and the British Home Secretary, London's Metropolitan Police launched their own review of the case, codenamed Operation Grange. They painstakingly re-examined all the evidence, re-interviewing witnesses and exploring new lines of inquiry. This renewed effort brought fresh hope. Operation Grange investigators believed that Madeleine was likely abducted by a stranger, possibly during a planned burglary that went wrong. They analyzed mobile phone data from the area on the night of the disappearance, trying to identify any unusual activity. This long and complex data analysis eventually led them to a new prime suspect. In June 2020, German police made a stunning announcement. They were investigating a German national, a convicted sex offender named Christian Bruckner, in connection with Madeleine's disappearance. He had been living in a camper van in the Algarve region at the time, and his phone data placed him in the vicinity of Praia da Luz on the night of May 3, 2007. Bruckner had a long criminal history, including offenses against children. German prosecutors stated they had evidence that Madeleine was no longer alive, though they have not publicly disclosed what that evidence is. As of today, Christian Bruckner remains the focus of the investigation, though he has not been charged in relation to the McCann case and maintains his innocence. He is currently imprisoned in Germany for other crimes. The investigation continues, a slow and methodical process spanning multiple countries. More than a decade and a half has passed. Madeleine McCann would now be a young adult. The world has watched her parents live through an ordeal that never truly ends. Their resilience in the face of such profound loss and public scrutiny is a testament to their love for their daughter. They have never given up hope of finding out what happened to her, continuing to mark her birthday and the anniversary of her disappearance each year. The case of Madeleine McCann serves as a chilling reminder of how a moment of happiness can be shattered in an instant. It highlights the complexities and frustrations of international police, cooperation, and the often unhelpful role of sensationalist media. But beyond the headlines and the theories, at its heart, it is the story of a family's unending search for their child. It forces us to confront our deepest fears, but also to reflect on the enduring power of hope. The question of what happened in apartment 5A remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of our time, a quiet, haunting question mark that may never fully disappear.